Hello, my name is Mr. Cadella, and today I'm going to show you how to get started with your watercolor painting on your final. You want to start with your light colors, so your yellows, light oranges, light blues, not your dark colors. So in this particular animal that I have here, I have some yellows right here and some oranges. You'll notice that I'm not doing the small little details first as well. I'm also doing the very big parts. So I'm trying to paint here the big parts in the light colors. That's very important, okay? Now, I will layer on more colors later. In fact, I might do some wet into wet watercolor technique, that is adding wet paint into wet paint, just like this, adding a little orange here. But sometimes you can let it dry and also go right over the top. Now notice, I know that I'm going to have a darker color in the background. I'm not doing that this first day. We're only doing our lighter colors. So if I go outside the line just a little bit here, I know that I can go back over this part, cover that little orange that popped out of the line there with a darker color, and it'll just cover it up for the most part. But obviously if it was a lighter color back here, I would not do that. I would be much more careful around these little spikes on the back of the chameleon. Now notice that I'm blending in some colors here on this wash, and I'm going to go over with darker colors later at a different time. I'm just getting these first washes done. Notice I'm using a bigger paintbrush. I'm getting in these big blocks of colors. I'm not focusing on the little details or anything like that. Now I'm going to come in. I'm looking at my photo reference, and that's very important. If I make a mistake, like maybe this got a little too orange, I can just mop it up. And you notice I'm using a paper towel. Once I clean my paintbrush, I dry it out, and I can mop up some of that color. Wash out my paintbrush, and I can go back with another color here. I'm looking for accurate colors. I'm mixing my colors. Now, mixing can be like up here when you mix them wet into wet, or you can glaze them. That is, you let them dry, and then you put another color on top. So you'll notice I'm going to go through this. I'm going to layer in the big washes, these big first initial washes on this animal here. And this technique works for other things as well. Notice I stick with the lighter colors. Notice I'm kind of blending in some other colors here. I'm not going to start diving into the dark colors until after all this is dry. It's tempting to go ahead and start on the light colors and then move quickly to the dark colors, but save those dark colors for a later time. Just do the light colors for now. The dark colors will come later. The reason why we start with the light colors is so that we can layer on the dark colors later, and if we tried layering on light onto dark, those dark colors would start mixing in, and it would get pretty gross pretty fast. So I'm putting in these light washes. The big thing, another big thing to remember too, is that when it comes to later portions of the painting, the small little parts, they're all pretty dark. So that doesn't mean I have to cover everything with a light color. Like for example, I know this back leg right here that's kind of hidden in the background, it's just going to be a dark color. There's no need to really layer on colors for that when I know I could just use a darker color later. So I'm getting those lighter colors. Notice I'm starting to kind of glaze. This part's a little dry, so I'm going to come back over this part as well, making sure that I'm using both buckets of water when I really, especially when I'm using that yellow. I want to get a nice clean brush and not have to deal with dirty water messing up the paint or anything like that. Now I will use some blues here. Some people might say, I thought you were only using light colors. I'm going to use a light blue right here, okay? Just a light blue right here. So it's still a light color. I'm just using that light blue right here. Now, even when it dries, I'm going to show you, you can, if you need to fix something, you can erase a little bit. Don't scrub the paper too much. You actually get it wet, scrub it just a little bit with the paintbrush. Take your paper towel and kind of blot it up. And it gets a little lighter. It doesn't go back to perfect white, but it will get a little lighter there. I'm going to blend in a little bit more of this blue here. So if you need a spot a little lighter, a little darker, you know what to do. You either take away a little paint or you add a little paint. Now I know that this part is going to be fairly dark too, but I'm still going to go ahead and layer on some of this blue because I can see some of that blue underneath in my animal here. and then I'll layer on darker colors too. So you want to think about layering colors. Now I have some beautiful light purple over here I'm going to get to, but remember, you don't want to use the colors straight out of the palette many times. In fact, the purple that I have in this particular animal is very different than the purple that was in my palette. So I got to mix in some of these colors here. Water it down just a touch. Paint it in. I'll get a lot of those details later. I'm just concerned with the darker washes later, but the lighter washes right now. So I just want to get those light washes. And that's how you start with your initial washes, your first washes on how you begin your final. Now, I do have some more work to do in the background. A lot of this is going to be darker, so I might just save that for the darker washes later. Now these first washes are completed. Notice there are large areas that have been painted, layered on, sometimes mixed together. I was not focusing on any of the small details. And also you'll notice this white area will actually be a very dark color for the most part, or a series of dark colors. So I don't have to be concerned with that right now. Notice I also did the light washes in the background too, the parts that will be lighter. Now, I will also say this, you can test colors as you're going too. Sometimes if you're mixing a color and you're not quite sure, grab a piece of copy paper and test that color. You can even hold it up to your painting. Sometimes I put it on the edge and I can hold it up to the painting and say, yep, that's the color I need for that area. You can also do this on the back of practice worksheets. It'll work just as well. And also, if your water gets a little too dirty, of course this water I've been using for this painting has gotten too dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and get some fresh water too. So that's how you do your first washes.